TrekWars, Duels Across the Stars, Episode 39, The Best of Both Games, Top 5 Game Characters.
It is a dark time for the galaxy. The once mighty Jedi Order lies in ruins, hunted to near extinction by the ruthless Ball Galactic Empire. Across countless star systems, fear grips the hearts of those who remember the Age of Peace. In the shadow of oppression, a lone survivor emerges, Cal Olympus. A young Padawan hides amongst the remnants of a broken world, concealing his identity to avoid the watchful eyes of the Ball Collective. But destiny calls. With the discovery of an ancient mystery tied to the Jedi's legacy, Cal sets forth on a perilous journey. Alongside newfound allies and his loyal companion, Ben Curnow, he must uncover the forgotten secrets of the top 5 game characters and ignite hope for a galaxy shrouded in despair. Hello, welcome to our late but certainly here show of us ranking our top 5 game characters from Star Trek and Star Wars. I'm Ben, or Ben Carano, and the cow here is.
This here is the reason why we are late. I am Olympus. I am still very full of the cold, but so much better than I was. So thank you all for being very patient and waiting, and special thanks to Ben for being so generous and considerate and always asking after me, because it's been a tough couple of days. Anyway, that's
No
my sob
problem.
story over. Happy to be here, happy to be cracking on with our next episode, episode 39. We are
Wow.
almost at a milestone, and I want to take a moment to talk about this. This is a milestone that someone in particular, someone that, if you look at the screen, is above me, has been looking forward to for 39 episodes, and that is the moment that our Roman numerals start getting funky, which will be with episode 40. How are
I'm
you
glad you
feeling?
remember that because I was going to mention that when you said 39, and it was just like, I was just looking forward to getting to the ones where nobody can just look at and go. They have to think about it unless they know Roman numerals well. They have to think about it. So
Well,
that was like the L's and stuff like that.
yeah, quite literally, I had to Google what 40 was because I had a funny feeling it was 40 that did it, and I saw it and I was like, oh yeah, this is going to get fun trying to read the crawls now. It'll be episode 40. I have no idea.
Yeah, Excel is the one for that. So
Yes, good shout, good shout. But no, happy to be here. And today we are talking about game characters. Ben and I are avid gamers. We love gaming, and we game quite a bit across both franchises, I would say. So this is going to make for a very interesting top 5 list each, I think.
yeah. Um, I'm doing my top. Let's get to our rules because I can do a bit of an explanation about my thoughts as well as any rules that I set
Awesome.
among this. Um, I've played a few games from both franchises, um, but they are a few, not a lot. So I haven't got the big knowledge of characters that I've fallen in love with. So generally, I have to have played the game that they were in, or they had to be important part of the game that I'm playing. Um, and which I've made my life a lot more difficult because with the start, I've done this with both franchises. If they are from uh, the films or the TV shows, and that's where you know them from, and that's where they originated from, I am not picking them. So no Spock, no Captain Picard, um, no Luke Skywalker. So that's made my life a lot more difficult. Um, so and yeah, you're gonna get a bit of rapidity with some of my game picks here. Not that they're not going to be good, because I love these characters to bits. Um, and also, I've made sure I've picked more than 2 games, and I am cheating on that. So it's
I'm now looking to
let's
see how
go.
many games I've picked. Okay, yeah, I could actually. I've definitely picked more than 2, but that's all on technicalities. I've actually got a very similar rule to yours. So my two rules was, the obvious one of the character has to have been in a video game, and also the other one, which was as well, I'm not picking characters who have been in live action TV shows or live action movies.
Okay.
So again, your Jean-Luc Picards, your Rikers, Luke Skywalkers, etc. They're not in this. Um, those were my two key rules, and technically, technically, you could argue that I have picked characters from just two video games, but technically, you could also say it's what, one, two, three, four, five. You could also technically say five. So
Oh, you got me very curious on that one because I was thinking,
yeah.
oh yeah, that's three games in there, and oh
No, no, no. I'd say it's probably five. That you could sort of spread it out over. So we'll see. We'll see.
yeah.
Um, cool. Anything else before we get cracking?
Um, if you've got an opinion, well, Olympus, you can put that. You can say that in a minute. But anybody else, um, put your thoughts, your top five picks in the chat, in the comments. Same for what you think of our picks. We'd love to hear from you and see what you have. So, Olympus, do you want to get us underway?
I will. I'll start with number five. I'm going to go to Star Wars The Old Republic and talk about my favourite Jedi Grand Master of all time, which is Satil Shan. I will be surprised if she is not in your list, Ben, because I know you
Okay.
like her. Um, but she is. I always remember going back to before the old Star Wars, the Old Republic even released, and you were getting the slow release of the game, the first few gameplay trailers. Not gameplay trailers, cinematic trailers is what I was trying to say. And you've got the different stories. We've talked about this in previous episodes, and I'll always remember the first one. I'm pretty sure it was the first one I saw was on a space station orbiting Korriban, when the Sith Empire basically returns, and you've got a very young Padawan Satil Shan with her master facing off against a couple of pretty ruthless Sith. Um, it's actually a really great cinematic. It hits home the sort of tone of Star Wars: The Old Republic very nicely, and it introduces some of the key, not the characters you play, but key side characters that you come across. They're sort of current historical note figures. You've got Satil Shan. You've got I'm
E7,
forgetting. Yeah, T7's there. Um,
Malcolm.
Malcolm's there. The gunslinger. Um,
Um,
what's his
I mean,
name?
it does appear later
Nico.
on.
Nico
Later
Akar.
on, Nico Carr.
So you've
Yeah,
got Nico there as
later.
well. So yeah, you've got quite a few sort of main side character, historical note characters kind of things there. But Satil, she was one of the main reasons why I automatically wanted to play this game. Just through those cinematics, I thought she looked pretty cool. I loved her outfit. I was so hyped the day, years later, that they released her outfit in the cartel market. So much so, I purposely bought cartel coins at a point when I did not have much money to spare. I'd saved up a little bit. I purposely went out and bought the cartel coins purely to buy that outfit. Um,
Yeah, and I know a few of my characters definitely have uh, that outfit. Usually my Jedi or my Sith characters that are light-sided Sith characters usually uh, on that. So I am the same. That yeah, and she
yeah.
is iconic. One of the early classes I played was the Jedi Knight story. Both for the Jedi story, you get to speak to her really early, but the Jedi Knight story, as soon as you get to the temple, she calls you for an audience, and you get to see her. And she's a very, I'm not saying a very important character, but she's always there in the storyline
In a
for
similar vein
Jedi Knight.
to Yoda, I guess you could say. Eh?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And even in the most recent I don't know about the most recent expansion, but not far off. The previous expansion she was uh, appeared in there, and not just a bit character. She was there to be rescued, or not rescued, but helping save a load of students, and you're going to go and find her uh, in one of the missions. So
Indeed, indeed. So no, I also like how her backstory sort of is not very straightforward either. You know, we know as we play through the game that she has a son. She had a relationship with Jace Malcolm, which led to Theron Shan. Um, and you know, to understand that you've got a Jedi Grand Master who's had that situation happen and somehow everything's fine hunky dory. I'm sure there's media out there that covers and explains it, but I'm quite keen to learn a bit more about that too. But yeah, anyway, I will stop rambling. That's my number 5, Satil Shan.
oh, cool. I'm not sure, but I think there is a comic involved in this, or at least a comic X. Uh,
I expect so.
frame. Yeah, I am going to actually keep to the same family here. Not the same person, the same family.
I've already
So
mentioned him
this
then.
is no, you have not.
Oh, brilliant!
So
Go for it.
this is the one I'm slightly cheating on. That it technically is from a originates from a different game, or sort of was propaganda in the previous game, and that is a Revan.
Yeah,
So the reason I think I could get away with this because he does appear in Star Wars: The Old Republic, which I play through.
yep.
Um, he is talked about in Star Wars: The Old Republic, like he is venerated by people, and it is part of the family. And also, in the same way, he is Revan, or in I think some cases, if you play KOTOR, it's a she, but it's people find him one of the best Jedi and Sith of all time. And and it's definitely from my perspective venerated throughout the game. Whenever I go to the second planet for the Imperial story, there is a line story where you get to fit in a group of Revanites, and you get to follow that story. I always do that. One of my favorite expansions was the Shadow of Revan, and a lot of other people's for that matter, and love it. And I also, even if it's not directly um, talking about him, Revan was all about around on Taris and remnants of what's around on Taris. So for me, and that's the reason he is so low actually on my list is because I never got to play the character in the original games, which I'm hoping to do, but I've never got to play it. And yeah, it's just the revered character in my eyes that has to be here. And even if you don't play him, it's a character that's revered in several games, or
It's
at least in one game.
it's difficult to be a Star Wars fan, not know or have heard the name Revan by this point as well, which says something in its own right. And part of the big reverence around Revan as well, which you'll know if you've read the Revan book, which I highly recommend, is that between his exposure to both the light side and the dark side of the Force, he's really found his balance in the middle of it. That's what makes him so powerful and so brilliant. Um, Basically, he walks that. I guess you could call it almost a grey Jedi. He sort of walks that line between the two, but it's not keeping out of both trenches. He'll dip into the light side. He'll dip into the dark side. He understands how and when to use the Force in its entirety. I guess that's where they try and get to with him. Um, that's why people think, from a lore perspective, he is one of the strongest, one of the best Jedi out there.
I know somebody said this, and I tend to agree. In
Mm.
Star Wars: The Old Republic, he doesn't necessarily walk in the grey area. He was always the extremes of those areas. He went from one to the other. Whether he turned to Darth Revan, he was dark side, or whether he was light side helping out in Star Wars: The Old Republic, or such like. But
So I agree from a KOTOR point, and I agree between the flashpoints in Star Wars, The Old Republic, and the Shadow version of Revan. I'll call it when you're playing the Shadow of Revan expansion. I'll agree on those points. The completed Revan that you experience at the end of Shadow of Revan, and I think you see him again later.
Mhm.
That's the Revan that, albeit you're seeing him play what looks more like a light side thing, I will admit that from a game, again, from the game's point of view, they put him across very light side. He's just out to do what's best for the galaxy.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, and
That's my view,
yeah. No,
anyway.
I generally agree with you, and I thought that was worth a talking point at least.
Oh, 100%. I love that character to bits. I'm so glad you picked him.
No problem. And what is your pick for number 4?
Someone not biologically related to Revan, but they do have a very close connection to Revan, and that's Mitra Surik, who is the I can't remember the term for them now actually, but she comes from she's basically the main character in Knights of the Old Republic 2, the Sith Lords. Um, it's like, it's not the Outlander, but it's like the oh, this is gonna bug me until I remember it. The outcast, or the
It is the Outcast, I believe, because it comes up in one of the flashpoints, I
she
believe, in
does,
Star
she
Wars
does,
Character
and again
Republic.
she returns at the end of vanquishing Valkorion, I believe as well.
Yes, you see her image, yeah.
Yes. So I love how developed and intrinsic, and how complicated her story is. It's a real driving force in the second KOTOR game, understanding what happened to her in the past and what's taken her to the point she's at now, and then you continue with her from there. And you get to see glimpses of that as you play through the game. And I know, again, not game related per se, but you do see Mitra Surik in the Revan book, and you get to explore a little bit more about her past and her connection specifically to Revan, because they both fought in the Mandalorian War before Revan and Malak disappeared. She what do you call it? Revan was a general. She sort of reported to him, kind of thing, and they
Mm-hmm.
became very close. So
Oh, cool.
yeah, always again wanted to learn more about Mitra's character, but really really like her. And it's ironic actually, because up until I learned through Star Wars: The Old Republic that the canon version of the Outcast is Mitra Surik, the female version, I always played that character in KOTOR 2 as a male. And ever since I found out, I can't help myself. I pick the exact character portrait. I go for the canon option every time. I can't help myself anymore.
That's the problem with some of the games now, is like they do get canonized when they come into future things, that they can be
And then that
either,
influences how you play it as well, doesn't it? Which is a shame,
yeah,
because before that, you'd play it however you wanted to, wouldn't you?
yeah. So it definitely is. And okay, this is going to be the most vaguest relations to the Shan family for my number 4 pick.
Cool.
It's only because this character play or worked with Jace Malcolm at one stage in her career, and you're going to probably be surprised at this. This character would probably come up as considered by other Republic soldiers as fairly unpopular, regarded as cold, and a social killjoy. Um, this is Alara Dawn. This is the medic for Havoc Squad in the Trooper story. So this is a
She's
character that
sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. She's related to the Shans.
is not related, but she worked for Jace Malcolm.
Ah, so that's the connection. Sorry, I'm with you.
Connection, yeah.
Cold
Works
brain.
for, yeah. Yeah, no, when you after everybody, slight spoiler alerts for SWOTOR, you go missing for a while, and all your companions disappear, and you gradually find them again.
Mm.
Um, when you find Alara Dawn, she is working for Jace Malcolm, who was one of the people who was prepared to save. I'm going to say save her, but help her back into her career after the what all the uprooting of previous years. Um, you first meet her on Taris, and she is somebody who has probably read and memorized the rule book for everything. Um, she would be in D&D terms or any other TTRPG known as the rules lawyer, which can get very frustrating at times. But she means well, she cares, and she's doing the right thing. And when you meet her again, as I said, she departs and was working for Jason Malcolm, and if you had romanced her, or even if you hadn't, and you are working for the Imperials, and you say, "Come back and join me and help me," she will turn you down and go, "Fuck off! I'm not working for the Imperials," because she was an Imperial and she defected to the Republic. She comes from a family of soldiers. I think it's soldiers rather than the Navy, but anyway, whichever one it is, she is uh, defected, and she is going. They are bad. They've done bad things. I don't want to be associated uh, with them. And yeah, she is one of my favourite characters and companions from that story, or from the whole of the game, i.e., why she's number 4 on my pick.
No, lovely. I've not experienced much of that character, but I do know which one you're talking about. Yeah, glad you picked her. And it's clear that there's a lot to explore from her as well. So I'm gonna have to play through. Is it the Trooper story that has
Yes, it
with
is the
her?
Trooper. Yeah,
I'll need to replay the Trooper because I've only done that once or twice. So I need to play that through and pay particular attention to her.
yeah. It's one of the weird ones because she is one of my. It is one of my favourite stories, even though it's not necessarily ranked in the top few stories. And it's also the characters you get early on. I find are in the story are better because you get more of a story with them. When I
Yeah.
say for anybody who's not aware, you play through about 16 planets on the original story, and you get the characters coming in stages uh, for your companions to help you and talk. And the ones that have been there from the first 2 or 3 planets, you'll get a hell of a lot of story with them. Not as much for the ones who come in later on. And yeah, Alara, as I said, comes on Taris, which I think is the 3rd planet for the Republic story. If it's not, it's the 4th. It's one of those ones. And as I said, 16 planets plus expansions you get to experience with her. Anyway,
Fantastic.
what's your number 3 pick?
My number 3 is going to be short and sweet because we've already talked about him. Um,
Oh,
and that is the
as I've
one.
only male and a female.
Maybe. It is, yes, it's the one and only Revan. Um, so we've already really said pretty much everything there is to say about him. If you have not played KOTOR, play KOTOR. It's well worth it. It's a great story. I know it's an old game. There's meant to be a remake coming. Who knows? We'll see.
One
But
year, one
yeah,
decade.
1 decade from now, 2 decades from now, who knows? But eventually we will get a remake, I'm sure. In the meantime, get yourself onto KOTOR and play that game because that's brilliant. And Star Wars: The Old Republic as well. Albeit it's an MMO, you can play it single player the whole way through. A lot of our characters we've been talking about already from that era of game anyway. But seriously, take the time, play through it. It's well worth it, and you get a good bit of Revan, both lore and the actual character himself, out of that game too. And yeah, also he wears a great outfit. He wears a great outfit, and he's got very cool lightsabers. And there you go. That's the
Yeah.
only extra bits I'd add for Revan.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to go with one for me for number 3. I'm going to actually change franchises here. Go to Star Trek.
Ooh. I was wondering if and when that would happen.
Yeah, and it is going to happen. I am going to Star Trek. That had a mind blank on its name. I nearly called it Star Trek Revenge. Uh,
Resurgence?
Resurgence. Thank you. Um, which came out 2 years ago now, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and you get to play 2 characters going through a journey with Lower Decks and a bridge officer, um, going through the story, and you are basically playing an episode of Star Trek or a two-part or whatever you want to call it, where you get to go to do things, press buttons, go on away missions, and you get multiple choice things. And one of the ones characters that you meet, at least as the bridge officers, who gets talks with them a lot, is Tylus Otaris, who is a female diplomat for the Otari, which are uh, almost greenish characters, very big characters, muscular generally, and she is. You go through, and she is always trying to do the right thing to help with the story, be the diplomat, and she is not. She doesn't like the fighting part of it, and she struggles through that, and actually defends you, jumps in front of you to take a. I was about to say take a bullet, but it's a particle weapon. Um, and one of the only ones from that side you don't get seen taken over by. I won't spoil it completely. An alien species, but
Yeah, don't spoil it completely.
uh,
I'm only halfway, maybe 3/4 of the way through the game myself. I need to get back to it at some point.
yeah. But she is a caring character, and they did have a romance in that game slightly with the lower decks characters that you had the option of having a romance early on. But this was actually her relationship between her and the first officer almost felt like a romance, an option. Then they had that caring. You could have it as just saying very good friends, but you had more in those two had more chemistry than the actual romance you get to have in the game.
Interesting.
Um, which is a little bit because the time effects on it, but yeah, she is a great character, and you can go, oh, she almost becomes not quite a default leader, but she is probably the prime favourite to become the new leader for the Hutari after the incident of that game. And yeah, I always loved my character's interactions with her and such like. So, uh, any opinions? Can you remember that character at all from your part playthrough?
Vaguely, vaguely. So I do know roughly who you're talking about, but I don't think I got. I'm saying 3/4. I probably only got halfway through it, judging by how you're describing her. So, because I don't remember a romance. I remember for the lower deck character there being a hint that there could be a romance, but I don't remember getting to the point of there being a romance. So yeah, I think I maybe only got halfway through it if I'm lucky. I need to get back to it.
Definitely got to do it.
It's just that
Um,
Assassin's Creed Shadows is keeping me from it right now because that game is just phenomenal, but not for this episode. Um,
yeah, come back with a string for it. Both
yes,
games.
absolutely.
Hint,
Uh,
hint, hint, hint. So,
My number two, I'm going to take us back to Star Wars, and we'll go to the Jedi games, Star Wars Jedi, so Fallen Order and Survivor. And there's a lovely Zabraki, Dathomirian Zabraki female called Merrin, who you get introduced to in the first game. She's a Night Sister, one of the remaining surviving Night Sisters of Dathomir, who, through a series of events, ends up joining you playing Caucasus on your adventure. And then after the first game, she goes off exploring the galaxy herself for a little bit, and then you come back across her again and actually end up with having a little bit of a romance with her in the second game. Which is quite nice, seeing Cal sort of relax a little bit. He definitely needed it. But I love Merrin because she's got, again, a very interesting, a very interesting backstory. And she's she's also got this social awkwardness and lack of awareness of humor and getting or understanding like in the moment jokes and that kind of thing. She's kind of like the Data of the group, if you're to put it into Star Trek. Um, and you see her learning and developing as it goes through, but actually it's very nice, and it doesn't take away from the fact that she does care. She's a very caring individual, who's out again to do the right thing, but she's gone through an awful lot of pain and a lot of trauma. So she's learning to deal and cope with that alongside helping Cal and bringing him on his journey. And yeah, I'd say it becomes quite complex, but it's woven beautifully. So that's why she's my number 2 pick.
Oh, cool. I'm glad to hear. I was hoping I was going to hear a bit from those games, and hopefully everybody's caught on where I've got my inspiration for the crawl at the beginning
I
from.
love that
So,
crawl. I absolutely love that crawl. Um, yeah, there's a lot of Jedi Fallen Order in that.
yeah, I'm not going to. No, I will explain it briefly. I don't usually use AI to help, but I got an AI to go. Can you describe in the form of a crawl uh, those games, or at least the first game, I think it was, and it was just like, oh, actually, yeah, I can work with that, and then I just changed it to have it, and it was just like, yeah, it's the only time where I've actually gone. Let's use AI to help,
Yeah,
and it was
let's
just like,
see what AI can do. It's an interesting tool certainly to sort of delve into and see what it can accomplish, isn't it? It did quite well with that
mm,
crawl. I know you've adapted it and edited what it gave you, but
mm,
yeah, it definitely helped with that one.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, anyway, let's go to my number 2 pick. So, tell you what, I'm going to go for a bit of a description here, and hopefully see how quickly you get this.
Okay,
A former slave that was found on Korriban in a prison, and was born into slavery on
bet.
Ryloth, but yeah, yeah, that was.
Sorry,
Yeah,
mate.
I thought that was a bit too quick, but not a bit too quick, but it was the prison on Korriban bit, and then I realised I had the Sith Warrior written in my description as well, because
Yeah,
this was just reference for myself.
yeah. Well,
Um,
that's the thing. As soon as you said Prison on Korriban, I went, "This could be Vet," and then when you said Sith Warrior, I'm like, "It is."
yeah, um, and it was just like, yeah, it is that. Yeah, she escaped right off to become a rogue. Well, she is a rogue and a treasure hunter. The most, unlike Marin and even Alara Dawn to a degree, she has got an amazing sense of humour.
Oh yeah,
Um, when you first do her, she is doing bird sounds, going,
chirp, chirp,
um,
chirp.
yeah. Um, and it's like, much to the annoyance of the person, the jailer at the time, it's like, and she offers if you getting irritated, that she can do other bird sounds, um, or even quaky monkey lizards,
Yep.
and that's the sound. So she she is a great companion, and she's the first companion you get for the Sith warrior off the first planet at the end. Um, if you are an evil person, you can be evil to her.
Keep her shock
Keep the slave
collar
collar.
on.
Yeah, but it's
I always take
yeah.
it off.
Yeah, I think most people generally do. I think unless you're doing a deliberate playthrough to see what happens, and even when I've tried that, I think within 2-3 goes of conversations with her, I've gone never mind. Um,
You just
I,
can't be
I
mean to
just
her,
can't
can
do it.
you?
Yeah, and it's at one point in the game you get a right later on in the expansions you get a choice between her and another character. Um,
Taurian.
I find,
It's Taurian.
yeah, even though Turin is a great character,
He's not that.
he's not for heads, and it's like I cannot. I think I've only done it once where I've gone, okay, this character, let's have a soldier. It's
No.
yeah, I've
Benjamin.
regretted it. So not my name, but I get what you mean. Yeah,
Yeah, I was trying to
it's
expand the name.
yeah, and I suppose that
Oh,
yeah,
that's shocking.
and
How could you kill
it is.
that? even
Oh,
once.
technically I
Feel
didn't.
ashamed.
I did. I did. I did feel ashamed. Um, yeah, it's she is an enduring character that's yeah. I for the most part I cannot do without in my games. So it's yeah, had to be, she had to be in there. Anyway, do you have any further opinions on that?
That's a phenomenal character. I'm gonna feel really guilty here and say, but I forgot about her. Otherwise, she would be in my top five. I know. See you killing her off that one time. You can now scorn me for forgetting about her for the top five list.
No
Um,
problem.
yeah, there's nothing else really to say. You know,
Oh,
she's charismatic. She's got a great sense of humor. She's got a very interesting story. Same voice actor who plays the Twi'lek in KOTOR as well. By the way, guys, if you decide to go away and
yes,
play
I heard of that.
KOTOR, you will notice that the Twi'lek companion that you get there is the exact same voice actor. So they must be related somehow. Got to be.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's the joking thing that is like, yeah, they're related somehow.
must be
Um,
somehow.
yeah, who managed to knock her off or stop her getting number one position for you?
Cal Kestis.
Yeah, I started writing his name in the number two pick when you
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
yeah, when I started describing it, yeah, Cal got the number one spot. The amount of well, the character setup that you get for him in Fallen Order is really good. And you end that game having really connected to the character. They develop and evolve that further for the start of and throughout Survivor. To the point that by the end of Survivor, he's one of my favorite Star Wars characters of all time. He's number three actually. I'm going to put him number three in terms of overall Star Wars characters of all time. Cal Kestis, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan Kenobi. 3, 2, 1. Um, he's yeah. He, again, it's one of those. The amount that he's gone through, the trauma he's been through, the development that he's gone on, or that he's the development he has managed to make throughout the two games, despite everything that's been thrown at him, is phenomenal. And actually, Survivor takes a very interesting turn. Spoiler alert for anyone who's not played it yet, but it has been out a while, so play it. He actually, a good chunk of the way through, starts to embrace a bit of his darker side. And you think, like I thought playing, it's like, okay, he's gone down this route. I can see why. They'll probably turn this around before the end of the game, and you know, that'll be that. He'll be back on the path. They don't. So by the end of the game, he's still a good person, but he's still tapping into that dark side every now and then as well. And there's so many different ways to look at that. I won't go into it, but it just deepens his character a little bit more as well, actually, because you can understand where that's coming from and why, and he's using it for the right reasons. Is he going to go the same way as the likes of Vader and whoever else? You know, there's all questions around that, but they've explored the same kind of thing very lightly with Ahsoka Tano. If you look at episode 4, I think it is, of the Ahsoka series, when they're at the World Between Worlds and they go through the different sequences in the Clone Wars. At the very end of all of that, when she's in her final little confrontation with Anakin and her eyes flash red, because he's sort of challenging to her the point of what is the light side, what is the dark side. Is it necessarily a bad thing to hit that middle line between the two of them and understand them both, use them both? You know, it's exploring a lot more of that, the philosophy behind it all, which I find very, very interesting. And I've gone way off on a tangent. I'm sorry.
that's
Cal's
all
a
right.
brilliant guy. He's a great character. I would love to see him in live action as well, actually. I think we're overdue that. So, fingers crossed. Who knows? But that's my number one.
I have a feeling. I think he will one day. Actually, of all the characters that are come out in video games and such like, I think he's most likely to appear, in my opinion.
I think he could.
especially with the person he plays him. I forgot his name, but his voice actor.
Sean something.
Yeah, but I see him and clips and stuff quite often, and talking about Star Wars, and his knowledge is very, very good.
Yeah.
It's um, yeah, I think he will definitely appear. Um, yeah,
Just oh no, it's not Sean at all. It's Cameron Monaghan. He plays Cal
that's
Kestis.
right.
But no, you're right because they've kept his likeness in the game. They did that with most of the actors in the Star Wars Jedi uh, games, so they could definitely bring him into live action.
Yeah, and yeah, I hope they do. Um, well, I'm gonna go with my character now, and they, I'm gonna say almost uh, have similarities, but they've done it the other way. Whereas they were dark side, but they had this part of light side that helped them. They're prepared to go in that direction, and definitely can be helped by your character. Um, and I'm going to go with Lana Beniko. She is a Sith who is very pragmatic and happy to work with either side if it does, oh, when necessarily, if it involves for the
Yeah,
betterment of, I'm not going to say society, but the betterment of the galaxy. Um, your characters first, well, if you're Imperial side, you meet her first on space station where her master Darth Arcus gives you a mission, and then she senses something's going wrong. If you're a Republic player, you meet her a little bit later in that same storyline on Manan, where she's working with Shan, Farron Shan, and you you'll hear her talking, and it's like, "Are you Sith? Does that matter?" I think if you say no, good. I like somebody's pragmatic. I think if you say yes, it's you're about to get drowned. Get your perspectives right. Um, and yeah, and she comes in throughout the story, and she helps rescue. She is the leading person alongside T701 and Coffin Fortana, who helps rescue from the Internal Empire, and is a lead person in helping form the alliance, stuff like that. When it comes to uh, when it goes for that, and if you are if you are a light side diehard, you can definitely, even though you know she's dangerous and has a temper that a Sith would have, she does. She is again pragmatic and is happy to help with the light work with the Republic and the Jedi, and actually can come off reasonably light side. So I think as long as something doesn't push her over the limit, uh, she can come over light side, but still wouldn't want to mess with her. Any thoughts, Olympus?
phenomenal pick. So glad that you chose Lana. I was hoping she would come up. I'm surprised you didn't pick Satele, but I can understand why,
Yeah,
seeing as you picked Lana. I'll give you that. Um, and if there was ever a game character you could have a crush on, it would probably be Lana. She's feisty in all the right ways. Um, no, she's a brilliant character. Again, she's got a depth to her, and she's not black and white like so many other characters in Star Wars. I'm good, I'm bad. As you say, she's happy to walk between both of them, and she ultimately doesn't really mind who she's working with as long as it's towards the same goal. Very, very pragmatic. Yeah, love that choice.
yeah, yeah. So do I. Think about that. I'm going to go as my honourable mentions now. Um, Definitely missed having Shatil Shan on here, Farron Shan as well. Even though like both characters. all the characters you can be in Star Wars: The Old Republic, whether that's um, the hero, a Typhon, you've got the Sith warrior character, the smuggler, bounty hunter character, whichever, is all great. I nearly picked Nix from
Me
Star Wars
too.
Outlaws.
Me too. I actually had Nyx on my list.
um, Jara Rydex, the main bridge officer character from Resurgence, Star Trek Resurgence. Portal 63 appears in that as well, which I nearly had. Um, and Lord Zash, which nearly picked. I've picked for something else before from the Sith. No, not Sith Consular. Sith. There's the Sith Consular. No, it's Jedi Consular, Sith Inquisitor.
Yes.
And they got those muddled up. Any honourable mentions before for you?
I'll keep mine short. A couple of them. These are a couple of, let's just call them utterly crazy characters, but their crazy is what works so well. Valen, who
Yeah.
I think is mad, but again, you get a lot of backstory into why, especially if you pay attention to certain things. You can understand why she is the way she is. But yeah, she's a different kind of bad guy. Right, she's not a typical villain you come across. Sometimes she is cruel purely for the joy of being cruel, as opposed
Mm.
to there being a means to an end, which is what you see with the majority of your Sith characters, your Darksiders, is they're looking out for their empire, they're doing what they think is right for their empire. Then they've got lines further away than what the good guys have. Whereas Valen sometimes is evil purely because she enjoys
He
it.
finds it fun. Yeah.
Yeah, she finds it fun, causing chaos. The fact that you learn to hate her so much, especially when it comes to the vet Torian situation, right? You can hate her so much. And that's always a good sign of a brilliant bad person character. When you learn to hate them like that. Which leads me to my
Yeah.
second honourable mention. Sorry, Ben, you're going to say something first.
Now, I was about to say, it's like normally it's like if you have a bad person, a good person who's a good character, but is a bad person always thinks they're the hero in their own story, thinks they're doing the right thing. She probably
Thanos.
knows she's not doing. Pardon?
Thanos.
Yeah.
As an
Yes.
outside of this sort of franchise
Yeah.
example.
Yeah. Whereas she, I think, probably just knows and wants a peaceful life, and she does it for the sheer fun of it, as she said. I
Yeah.
said, sheer joy of it. Who's
Um,
your next one going to guess? And I think I've got that written down here now.
you probably have, because equally a character which is someone that you learn to hate relatively quickly. And that is first Governor and then Chancellor Suresh.
I forgot about her actually, but
Ooh, so you didn't have that down. I'll get back to you who you've got written down in a second because I'm interested to hear what you've got to say. But yeah, Suresh, I won't say too much about her apart from, you know, you first meet her on Taras. She's the governor there trying to rebuild the place. She's got her own ambitions of gaining power. There's a whole scenario that goes down there, which at the end of it, you're about like, you come across her again much later on in the game where she's suddenly Chancellor. And you get a very interesting decision to make at the tail end of that. And I know many a person who has been playing for all of those hours a 100% light side character, dedicated, zero dark side points, and they'll pick that dark side option because this character does something even better than Valen does. You hate her almost to your core. She makes good Jedi do bad things. That's how much you hate her.
yeah,
And again,
and yeah,
perfect sign of a
as
brilliant
you
character.
and as you said, yeah, her thing is she wants power. That's
Yep.
and she thinks she's right, does what's needed to get to power. Now, somebody I suddenly forgot about during this was somebody who was in power. Whenever you see him, is the Emperor or Emperor Valkorion. Um,
Alcorian. Oh my god. Again, and he's brilliant for another reason, but I've cut you off. Sorry. Go.
that's all right. No, you're fine. And you, in various guises, you hear about him early on in the game. You meet him in the Jedi Knight story. Then you have various other stories involve him in different ways. To meeting him as Empire Victorian or the son of father of Valen, um, in a different guise, and the story is fantastic. And he tries manipulating you. Play the game, you can find it out. This is supposed to be an honourable mention, but go on, Olympus.
No, no, no. He deserves a lot though, doesn't he? That
He does.
character's fantastic. And this is actually another character. You can see exactly why he's done what he's done with the Eternal Empire, and every decision he makes is calculated with purpose. He's not cruel for the sake of being cruel. He is
He just
definitely a
lets
bad
that happen.
guy. Yeah, he just lets
Yeah.
it. He basically looks for the greater good. He's probably the Thanos of Star Wars, um, but he definitely has his own ambitions as well, which you can see with his, I'll call it alter ego. It's the same person, but when he's embodying the Sith Emperor, and he's absorbing planets, basically life off of planets to keep himself immortal. That is pure and simple self ambition and the need to continue to survive to control everything. Um, but again, all with an end purpose. And I'll go back to the Revan story. Read the Revan story, you'll get a lot more understanding behind Ziost and behind how and why the Emperor does what he does.
Mhm.
That's a great book, Revan. That Revan book's phenomenal.
It is. I haven't read it, but I've heard very good things about it.
Definitely read it.
Um,
I didn't even, because I'm an avid reader, but I didn't actually read it. I listened to it. It was an audiobook.
look,
But it was worthwhile actually.
oh, cool. Um, yeah, no, I look for that's our recommendation for the day. I read the Revan books.
There's been a
Um,
few. Read the Revan books, play KOTOR, play KOTOR 2, play Star Wars The Old Republic. What else was there? Um, Punch Suresh, or worse.
yeah,
um, Save Vet every single time.
yeah,
Yeah,
um,
that's at least six.
yeah. Um, no, definitely. And I'm going to say, changing the subject slightly, this is the nearest episode we've had to having a clean sweep for one franchise. We've had picks where we've picked franchises ourselves and we've gone 5-0, but we've never had a 10 or a 15-0 victory by anybody. Um,
We came close today. I think there was only one
yeah,
Star Trek pick.
it was, yeah. So 9-1. Anyway, I want to say thank you for watching. Um, come find us on the social medias in the chat. We both stream. I'm hoping to get that done sometime soon on stream. Um, on Twitch, so that will be in the thing at TrekWars and Fantasy. Limpus, do you have anything to say before we live long and prosper?
Yes, before once I'm over my cold, I will be getting myself back into streaming again. I'm playing through Assassin's Creed Shadows at the minute, which I'm enjoying quite a lot, but I also need to get back into Star Wars: The Old Republic, get back into Star Trek Online. Before either of those, though, as well, I want to restart and play the whole way through Resurgence, so I'll probably do a bit of that as well. But I do expect that Shadows is going to be taking a lot of my streaming time up for the foreseeable. That is for reasons the best Assassin's Creed game ever created. So yeah, I actually recommend you buy and play that too, because it's well worth the money. It's a pricey price tag, but it's well worth it. But
Make
yeah,
this.
totally off topic of Star Trek and Star Wars. And on that note, thank you all so much for watching. As always, your support's very much appreciated. Live long and prosper.
May the force be with you always, or live long and prosper.